What's up guys, this is my mid lane tier list for patch 25.08. Before I go through the champions individually quickly, I want to go through some short things that I want to say about the entire list as a whole. So first of all, the order matters left to right. Left is the best, 5 is the worst in quotation marks, right? You know, champions aren't better or worse than each other objectively, but that's the gist of it. Second of all, difficulty is kind of considered. For example, I have Syndra higher than Azir. I think Azir is stronger than Syndra right now, but I think Syndra is much easier than Azir, so she is higher ranked. Third of all, AD champions tend to be higher, like Corki and Tristana, Tryndamere, Jace, because there's, just not many AD mid laners, so they're who I think are the best mid laners given, my criteria for the list, which is how good they are and how easy they are. Fourth of all, even if a champion is ranked low, that doesn't necessarily mean like it's the worst thing ever. This list is literally just how strong champions are relative to each other. So champions have to be better and worse than each other, right? Like they can't all be the exact same strength. So I just think Victor is better than Twisted Fate right now, for example. Fifth of all, and this is probably the most important thing, champions are strong or weak depending on which one fulfills the job that needs to be done to win. So it's more important than just whether a champion gets buffed or nerfed. What's important is the state of the game that the champion is being played in. So it depends on what other champions are being picked and other roles and what the winning strategy at the time is. For example, right now, games last really long because Baron spawns at 25 minutes instead of the usual 20 this season. So games just last longer than they used to. Scaling is a much better strategy than it used to be. A lot of the scaling mid laners are up here, right? Syndra, all of these champions scale well, really. So, you got to think about the actual game. You can't just think, oh, Echo got buffed, so now he's a better mid laner. You got to think about the actual, what champions are trying to do, or rather what mid lane is trying to do. Then last of all, 6. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments, even if the video is insanely old, like Trick2G. And yeah, quickly going through the champions. I'm going to do this really fast so the video isn't that long. Syndra, very easy, very strong, good blind pick, anti-skill cap. Galio, Ryze, Sylas, very easy, and many people know how to play them. Okay, maybe not very easy, but they're on the easier side of the spectrum when it comes to mid laners. They're all very strong right now. They're all pretty much blind pickable. Galio is probably the least blind pickable. And if you were blind picking Ryze, I would recommend banning Syndra. Honestly, I would recommend banning Syndra if you're not going to pick her. This champion is very strong and very easy, especially in lower ranks. I think she'd just be very good. Of course, if you know how to play Azir, he's very strong, but he's very strong every patch. So if you played Azir, you probably already knew that. In A tier, I have Tristana and Corki, who are both arguably S tier because they're the best AD mid laners, right? They're both very strong. They can even compete against the best mid laners, even when it comes to just a 1v1, It's not like, oh, dang it, I have to go AD, so now I'm going to be weaker. They're still very strong champions. And then Taliyah counters a lot of champions. She also gets countered by a lot of champions, like, Zed, Kassadin, some other funky stuff, whatever people play. Taliyah can be countered a lot easier than the other champions in S tier, so I didn't put her in S tier. But she is a very good champion, so I put her in A tier. B tier, I have Victor and Aurora, just both very strong, very solid champions. Victor is a bit easy to gank, but he is stronger than Aurora. Aurora is much safer. She can go invisible. She has a bunch of dashes, but she's probably weaker than Victor. So, they have their strengths and weaknesses. I will say, if you're counterpicking mid lane, whatever champion you're picking will be better. For example, Syndra's S tier first place because you can just blind pick her and you'll always be useful. But, if you get a really insane counter pick, you pick Taliyah or Sylas or Zoe, and it's like an insane game for that type of champ, you will be more useful than if you picked Syndra, right? So, it all just depends. Use your brain, think about what works best. C tier, all of these champions are very good. If you know how to play them, they're all very good. D tier, if you know how to play these champions, you can definitely make them work, but I would say they aren't very good, and I'm sure if you play these champions, you already know, they're not in their best state. F tier, these champions just are not very good right now. Probably the best one is Ziggs, but he's such a wonky champion. I put Twisted Fate before him even, because Twisted Fate is much easier. You can probably get like a really good Twisted Fate game if the enemy team picks like a Kali, Vayne, Fiddlesticks, something crazy like that. And then to quickly go through the one-trick champions, or at least the top ones, I think a lot of these champions are actually very good. For example, Akshan, I would actually put an S tier, and Zed, I would actually put an A tier, because both of the champions are very good, and like I said, they're AD mid laners, so they, lack competition. It's either Akshan or Tristana or Corki, right? Like, sure, Tristana and Corki are good, but like, Akshan is also very good. You know what I'm saying? Kiana, also very good. I'd say she's A tier alongside Zed. Both Zed and Kiana, they're kind of they're so and so. They're not broken right now. But if you're very good at Kiana or Zed right now, they're of course still very good champions, can do very well in solo queue. Same with LeBlanc. I would put LeBlanc in B tier. If you're very good at LeBlanc, I'd say she's about the same thing as Victor. Like, being very good at LeBlanc is probably the same usefulness as being pretty mediocre at Victor. Anivia, same thing. Very good champion, especially with Boots of Swiftness being one of the better boots right now, and Anivia can buy those boots pretty easily. She's just a good character to, if you're good at Anivia, great character right now. Same with Caston, Vladimir. These champions are better the lower rank you are, because, they just scale really well. But yeah, that's probably it. I don't think Fizz or below is worth talking about. Basically, if you one-trick these champions, you can definitely make them work. Maybe not Malzahar, but if you're good at a character, you'll find a way to make it work. But, of course, you have to know that some characters are just better than others at the moment. And this is my tier list, and I hope this taught you something. Or maybe you just enjoyed listening. And yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.